Thank you so much for always finding time to watch YouthPad. Send us your views and thoughts through our social media handles at KakTV_Kenya and Facebook KakTV. And in our today's episode, we are having Burundian finest. He's a multi-talented artist from essay and playwriting to poetry performance, both in English, French, and Kirundi, his mother tongue. Furthermore, he's looking forward to publish his first book of poetry, which will be written in English. Once published, this book will be the first book ever written in English by Burundian. Welcome so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Zeus the poet.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes.
Introduce yourself and let us know who you are, first of all.
My name is, as you say, my name is Zeus. My full name is Zeus Bamorineza, but I'm better known as Zeus or Zeus the poet. That's my stage name. I'm Burundian. I'm a student at USIU Africa. I'm majoring in international relations. I do write poetry about different aspects of life, politics, love, environment, different aspects of life. And I also do write essays, plays, yes, and short stories.
So from all these aspects, you write poetry from, depending on the environment that you want to write about. Maybe we've talked about life stories, life experiences, politics and stuff, right? Yes. I'm curious to hear one of your poets before we start or we get deep in this conversation. First of all, you can use this camera and get us going.
I have one of my pieces. The title is "It Happened."
It happened.
Yes.
Let's hear what happened.
Of course.
Yeah.
It happened. My crush Aisha, kipekee katika maisha. Her excellent application caught my constant attention. Her ambition left me with satisfaction. She had been my mind's selection, and my heart gave approbation. But I'm still crawling in hesitation before I make a declaration. From the bottom of my imagination, she's my figure for contemplation. Her unique dress code makes my heart erode. She speaks with eloquence that has become the trigger of my daily vibrance. She walks with a swagger. I wish she was the flag of my future and my companion in my adventure. Es mi querida potencial, es mi persona especial. Thank you.
Man, who is this your crush?
Someone.
It happened. What about?
But if
about
you
this
have paid attention, I think you got to the name.
Aisha.
So yeah.
So
by the way, you might not know who is really. You can guess who. Maybe you can get the picture from what I have said. Yeah.
So how long did this start? The poetry itself. Where did it start?
Oh. Actually, from the primary school, I was interested in things related to poetry. I used to listen to radio. I really like listening to the radio, to the news, and to different programs. So there was a program that was usually happening at a certain broadcasting radio about our culture. So there was a time when people were invited and reciting poems, Kirundi poems. So from that time I got interested, but also in school we do learn. We did learn like primary school, from primary school, high school. We did learn about different poets, African poets in African literature. So I then got that inspiration from those different persons, and then I started writing. I remember my first written piece was in Kirundi, and that was my first year for secondary school.
That was when? Which year?
It was in 2011. Yeah.
That's when you started writing about poems.
Yes, that was my first poem in Kirundi.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'll share a little bit as we go forward. You'll tell us some of those Kirundi poems. We want to hear, just even if it's just one stanza as we move forward. But then, how many poems have you managed to write in English?
In English?
In English.
By now that I'm speaking, I've written 114 poems.
Yes. What about in French?
In French, I've written 103 poems.
Yes. In French, how many poems?
103.
103.
Yes.
And what about in Kirundi?
In
Because
Kirundi.
you write about, you even write about plays here. We've talked about you write about plays and the
there is one of my. I used to write plays or sketches for schools tournaments at high school, but there was also one of my plays that was awarded the first at national level. There was a competition, playwriting competition for high schools nationwide. It was for a competition, for nationwide competition for high school students, and the play was first awarded at the national level, and the title of the play was Amunguranga Niyo Mazikesh.
Translation in maybe in English.
In English,
Amunguranga
Amunguranga Niyo
Niyo
Mazikesh.
Yes.
If I try to give a meaning of what it's standing for, is what I want to mean by that is when you accumulate, when you are really, when you want to accumulate things, it's just by having that spirit of accumulating things, of getting wealthy, of, when you are really, I would say, like
You down.
drowned or sunk in just seeking the wealth or just having many things. It's just by doing so that you actually lose what you are intended to gain.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to give a certain meaning of the title.
Right.
Just by striving to get more and more and not caring about other people or other things. It's just by doing so that you get to lose even what you intend to gain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about this play? You performed yourself or you had a crew to perform?
I wrote the play, and when we were being given the prizes, the minister, or it was organized by the Minister of Youth, Culture and Sports.
In Burundi?
So, yes, in Burundi. So they said that the play was going to be presented at different schools and played by students.
Yes.
Yes, that was the promise. I never knew if it has been done or not.
Yes.
But what I know is, yes, the play is there. I'm sure they have started it, but myself, I still have the copy of it. Yes.
So it earned you sponsorship.
Yes, I was given prizes, and also there was also prize for the school. Yeah, there was prize for the student and the prize for the school.
What kind of sponsorship did you
Before
get
this
from
play?
this play? Before
Before this play, I did participate in the East African Students Essay Writing Competition.
Yeah.
It was in 2014, and fortunately I was the fourth at the national level. I placed the fourth at the national level, and by being the fourth, I was among the 5 the 5 first students to be awarded. And apart from being awarded, there was also an offer of a trip, a 6 days trip across the East African region. So it was my first time to be, I would say, in the plane. So we traveled by plane. We came to Kenya. It was the beginning in February 2015. We came to Kenya and we participated in the Heads of State Summit. Was KICC, Kenya International Conference Center. Yes, I met different people, different students from the countries. It was by that time there were 5 countries, partner states of the East African Community, before South Sudan joined. So it was a great experience to be together with Kenyans, Ugandans, Rwandans, Burundians, Tanzanians. So we went to Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi.
Yeah. Let's talk about this book that you want to write, the poet book. What does it entail, and what message do you want to carry along when you publish this book?
By publishing this book, I expect to get a wide audience, because by having a hard copy of what I am, of course I have the poems published online on my website, as I have said, but by having this book now, people will get to see the real product in their hands, and also to reach different people from different corners of the world, and I hope that the message that I deliver through the poems that I write will have a certain impact on the people who get to read. Furthermore, I believe that by publishing this book, that will contain the poems that I've written in English. As someone coming from a country that is francophone, that speaks French as a second language, but it's trying to also to get to use English. So I get this opportunity as a way to contribute to that language improvement, and yes, and also as someone coming from a culture where we don't expect many people to get to that stage to publish. Of course, we have Burundians who publish books, but it's we don't have that. We haven't been witnessing those kinds of people doing such kind of activities. So for me, it's a great step, but also something that's going to motivate others to do the same, and having our stories being told, yes, and having our own narrative out there, yes.
So what's the reason of titling this book, Born to be Human?
Born to be Human, yes.
It sounds to be carrying a lot of meaning.
That's, yes. Yeah. I think it's also philosophical, Born to be Human. Yeah. Yes, this is the title of the book, but also it's the title of one of the poems that will be in the book, 70 poems. 70 poems, yes. So the title, why I chose this title, is because for me it carries actually the whole message. I mean, it summarizes the whole message contained in the book. Born to be human. I mean, of course, I feel everyone is born to be human. I think, and what is being taught in the poems is it's a message about people, about humans, about what they do, what we want to achieve, our dreams, our feelings, our frustrations, our expectations. So. Then I take this title as just a kind of a message to the one who will get the book to actually think about what it means to be human, and And as a poet, poets actually have this capability to go deep into what it means to be human. Because before you write, you have to analyze, to observe, to see what is happening in your environment, to understand. I mean, to understand yourself and understand others, and you put yourself in others' shoes. Because it doesn't mean what you are always writing about is about you. It's about others. It's about the dreams of others, what people want to see, what they have gone through, you see. So it means that you have actually to be in that, I would say, in that form, in that aspect of being human. So born to be human. So born to be poet, born to be human means just born to, yes, to be human, to live together with others, but also to bring a change, to
and do you have
impact.
Do you have any companies that have presented your manuscript?
A company? Yes, I shared my manuscript with 3 companies, and
3 companies.
Yes, and they all accepted to work with me, but as I have to choose one, because not all of them can then go and publish my book, so I did have to choose one.
And which one do you choose? Maybe if you don't mind, you tell us.
The one I chose is a company called Christian Literature. Yes, it's based in UK. Yes, but there's also its branch here in Kenya.
So you chose to work with it.
Yes.
Were they fairly, in terms of cost effective?
Yes, in terms of cost effective, but also that availability. I mean, it's branch in Kenya, so I can go and collaborate with people involved, and also. Yes.
You seem to be having so much work, and you're a student, right? How do you balance all this? How do you balance your class and writing about 70 poems that you intend to include in this book, Born to be Human?
Actually,
where do you find all this time to write 70 poems? You must be. You must attend to class.
Yeah, your question has been raised by many people who know me. Like you are always writing. Also, you are taking part in different activities, extracurricular activities at school. I mean, do you sleep? But at the same time, also in class, you are doing well. You are not doing poorly. I mean, so the question is, how do you manage? Do you sleep? But at the same time, also we know that we need sleep. So does it mean just being in class is enough for you? I mean, they were just astonished to see what's going on. And for me, I think it's all about how someone manage his or her time, how you get to plan. You have your own schedule, how you do things. Yes, things that you prioritize, and yes, it's about management of time. And yes, so for me, when I get inspiration, actually, when I get inspiration, I write till I finish. I can't sleep before I finish. Yes, when I get inspiration, I just sit down and get everything together. If I have to get any information from anywhere, and then start writing till I finish.
And where do you get all this inspiration to write?
The inspiration comes just from anywhere, just like wind. I mean, even right now, I can leave this place and few minutes just maybe 3 or 5 words that pop up in my mind, and then I start writing. And yeah, and by 8 p.m. I have the poem. I mean, I finish. Of course, I will have to improve on it, but I already have the product. Maybe the raw product, but it's there. So, yeah.
I want to take you a little bit back. how was your first piece that you composed, the poetry, and performed it? How did you come, and how did you face the challenges of just making the piece? How long did it take to come up with the piece?
Yes, you are actually making me travel back in my past. So I remember one day, it was actually my first time at high school to be on stage with a poem. So we were two persons that were supposed to present, to perform a poem. Everyone was expecting me to work miracles on the stage, like, because they've seen how I have been rehearsing. Everyone was, okay, now I will be there to see Zeus, what Zeus is going to do. Yes. And the title of the poem, I have the poems in French, was Fille d'Afrique. Fille d'Afrique. Yes, yes, that's French. I remember the first two lines, it was Fille d'Afrique, salut fille d'Afrique, fille nubile, fille en costume de. Donc, mixing with French. Then by that time, I was ready, like on the stage. When I was ready on the stage, you know what happened? So I started with really feeling the public, feeling the stage. And then I started really with great energy, just and then by the third line, that's the time when everything went. And then I was like, what? I was like, what is happening? It really went completely. I missed everything. I mean, no. And the poem, I was the one who wrote it. I've been rehearsing, but nothing came till I left the stage. Yes. That time was really, for me, a challenging time, but it was also an experience. I learned from it. I was feeling like, so what will I do? Do I abandon completely doing this, or I will just write, but I will not perform, or I don't have maybe the ability to be on stage and perform, or what was going on. But by the time it went on, I realized that the audience actually was the one to make me forget about what I was about to tell them, because the way they were shouting, like, oh, go Zeus, and everything. So I learned from that, because I developed some tactics of how to perform on the stage, and while controlling your audience and also your stage, and get everything done. Yes.
Okay, before we continue, I want you to give us another piece so that we proceed on with this conversation. Go on, right? Are you ready?
Proud of you, best friend. You alone can understand my rubbish. You alone can cherish me even when I look childish. You alone can cuddle me and make me feel like a baby in a cradle. You know what I like, and you know what I dislike. You cheer me up when I'm depressed. You appease me up when I'm stressed. When they leave, you stay. You stand up for me. You lift me up. You alone can cleave me a path in the darkness, because you are my light. You drive out dimness. And I love when you text me good night. Proud of you. Proud of you, my soulmate. I covet more than I do for chocolate. You amuse me when you say, I am your muse. And you might not know it, but your hug washes away the dirt from my heart. And your kiss is a priceless thing I some days miss. Your voice It's like a love song I never tire to listen to. You know me. You understand me. Proud of you.
Wow. That was amazing.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Wow. So,
Okay.
what has inspired you to talk about love here?
Huh?
What has inspired you to write to talk about love? I mean, what are the
I'm
reasons
actually a
behind?
romantic
What are the
poet.
reasons?
I'm a romantic poet.
What are the reasons behind this?
What are the
This
reasons
piece?
behind this piece?
Yeah.
It's someone actually who inspired me to write this piece. I mean, it's the best friend, and of course, she's my best friend. But I assume that everyone has his or her own best friend. So, by reciting this poem, the audience identifies with me. I mean, with the poem. They get to realize what it means to be someone's best friend. Yes, you have to understand that the person is not a perfect. You understand, as I said, you understand, you alone understand my rubbish, while others are saying, you what have you done here? This is bullshit. What is here? I mean, you alone can understand, can actually get the meaning of what I intend to mean. So being someone's best friend is really.
Another person might have inspired you to talk about poetry here.
Probably the next time I will come up with a piece maybe about her.
Okay, what are the challenges that you face as a young and upcoming artist? Maybe you've seen from other fellows, and it might not be from your own country, but maybe here in Kenya where you're pursuing your studies. Yeah.
Some of the challenges I've seen so far, they're related to what actually a poet has to do. Like as I said, you talk about things. Sometimes you talk about things that no one wants to talk about. I mean, no one wishes, or they're afraid to talk about, or it's like a taboo. No, you can't talk about that. So this is a great challenge for me. I have seen so far. I even have some pieces that were treated in a certain way, like. No, you shouldn't have written about this. This is really, I mean, so that's the first challenge. I mean, having people not accepting what you are writing about, not because it's not real, but they feel like, oh, you are attacking them, you are talking about things that shouldn't be put out there. So, yes. The second challenge is also related to that. You meet some people who are forcing you to write about this. No, write about this. We want you to write, to follow this, like the settings you have to follow. You have to do this certain way. You know. But I take poetry as a way just to freely express yourself, to talk about different things, to talk about your feelings, just to diffuse any frustrations within you. Just to be part of the world, to denounce anything that's not going well, and yes.
I wrote about French poem, Kirundi poem, that is in Burundi, and also English poem. Is there any difference when you're writing about all these kind of poems in different languages?
There is not a great difference in terms of inspiration, but when the inspiration comes. But the difference about how you get the words you use while telling your story. Of course, you have ideas in your mind, so how do you express those ideas? How do you put them out? How do you, how do you have your audience get what you want to tell them? Yes, so that's the difference, because the words in French, in English, in Kirundi differ. So what I realize is that with English, I don't know if it's because English is easier or but I now
English is the one like you used to most than your local language, Kirundi.
And with English, I feel like it's easier for me to get many lines, many poetic lines, like in a short time. I don't know if it's because of the way I'm living, maybe because of the books I'm reading or everything now I interact with or I am in contact with are in English, maybe. But I feel like English is easier to write.
As opposed to Kirundi.
And also, French also is easier than Kirundi. Like Kirundi, I have to read those words. I mean, complicated words. I mean, just there's certain vocabulary you have to use, like to make sure it's really Kirundi. It's just Kirundi, complete. It's a complete Kirundi, not a mix of languages, French and you know.
So how did you grow yourself to the person that you are becoming now, to the spoken word? Where did you get your poetic skills, maybe? Or rather, is it learned, or was it natural about yourself?
It's debatable to say that it's natural, it's a genetic related thing. I mean, I would say there's an influence from nature and nature, as they say. For me, it's just a collection of experiences, of people I've been in contact with, of books I have read, of programs I've listened to, where I have been, and yes, I think there is a great influence from the environment I've been growing up in. So so the books I've read, there is this poet who influenced me to really write, and this from West Africa. The name is Birago Diop. He writes in French. I mean, he's a francophone author or poet. Yes, so I used to read many of his poems. But there are also other poets. Many are just francophone poets. There's Victor Hugo, But there is also this poet from America, Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman. Actually, this poet was, I would say, not condemned, but was criticized for his poems, especially the book. The grace is the grace of grass. The grace of grass. Yeah, the grace of grass. They were like saying that the poems really, it talks about sexual related things. I mean, the book was not allowed to be in the public. But by the time went on, they actually discovered that actually what the poet was talking about was real, and there was no reason to condemn him or not to let the book be out. So now the book is being used in the education. They use it while teaching students at universities.
So as as an upcoming artist, spoken word artist, how do you envision yourself to becoming in future? How do you look yourself in maybe 10 years to come?
10 years to come.
Yeah. You want to leave a legacy of writing a poem in Burundi. Maybe you'll be an historian.
I see myself as someone who have produced other Zeus, other young men like me who are really motivated to write, to tell their own stories, and to get to influence people, to in Africa we don't, I would say, like for instance, from my country, Burundi, sometimes there is a certain narrative that is out there because of people who have taken our own history our own story in their own hands, and they tell the story the way they want. Sometimes it's not true. So there's this that problem. I want to bring a kind of solution to that. I want to have people get to tell our stories, get to show the real picture of Burundi, not just a country where there are chronic wars, people are killing each other, people don't sleep, people don't eat. You know, that's kind of image. For instance, I've been here in Kenya, and when I was here, I was like, everyone was asking me, so in Burundi they're fighting. You see, like, there's someone I met and I said, I am from Burundi. Okay, how is Burundi? Burundi is like, no, that's not the information you are getting. They say that people are fighting, they're fighting for the presidential terms or whatever. And I'm from Burundi and I was living there peacefully. People come in, people go out. So, you see, so.
Okay, as we wind up with this conversation, I want you to freestyle on any topic of your interest. Just freestyle. Use this camera and freestyle on any topic of your interest. Oh, I should give you a topic to freestyle.
A freestyle? You want me to come up with
just
here right now?
Yeah, freestyle on any topic of your interest.
Of my interest?
Yeah.
There is a peace, a full peace you get when you free the space in your heart. Accept the worst to quit and the best to come in. You feel so peaceful when you open the doors for the person God had put in your plan to make your life so fruitful. It's genuine. It's genuine when you run away to avoid the wrong choice. When you unblock the right voice and block the wrong voice. When you unread the wrong message. And when you unview the wrong image. When all is set for you to unpack frustrations and pack the right options. It's a blessing when you lose a silver to gain a gold. It's amazing when you choose not to force, but to cross the stream and renew your dream. That's when you feel so bold to move on with the one who decided to hold on for you. The sun is rising for both of you. Thank you.
Is it motivational, inspirational?
This piece
I find it so motivational and inspiring.
Yes, it's motivational, it's inspiring, it's just inciting someone to do something. I mean,
positive,
someone has been maybe conflicted with himself or herself. Should I do this? Should I, like, he has been in dilemma and doesn't know what to do. What do I have to do? Do I have to quit? For instance, when you are in a toxic relationship and you are like, do I have to break up or I just keep the way it is? Yes, it's better just you quit and you move on. I mean, you just let the best to come in. And
where can we find you on social media? You can use this camera.
For anyone who wants to read my poetry, he can or she can visit my website, www.zeuspoet.com. That's my website.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to
for
be
making
here.
time to come all the way from USU to this place.
Yes.
We really appreciate your time, for making time for YOUTHPAD, especially, and sharing your story.
It's my
I wish
pleasure
you well, and
to
I
be
pray
here.
that your book,
Yeah.
Born to be Human.
Born to be human.
Just be successful.
We are born to be human.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you so much for watching YOUTHPAD. You can send us your feedback through our social media handles at KAKTV_Kenya and Facebook KAKTV. My name is Francis Ngala, and see you next Friday.